All right, so welcome. It is day 2, and we are going to cover the habit tracker today. This is a really simple tool, but I found this to be one of the most important things especially for initiating change. And this is something that we definitely need to do this for the first couple months. And ultimately, you can make this your own. There's flexibility with this. You may find some version of this helpful to continuing down the future, but for now, I really ask that you stay committed to this because this is where change begins. And so I just want to kind of go over what this is. You'll have a link to this in your onboarding dashboard. You'll be able to print these off. I know we're all in a digital world, but taking an actual pen or pencil and writing these things down, there's a lot of power with that. So I really encourage you to print these off. When I'm tracking my habits, I leave them on my kitchen counter, but somewhere where it is accessible and that you can review it at least once a day. You might review it a couple times a day, and I promise you, it won't seem like a chore once you get into a routine. So let's just dive into it. The way this is set up is the top half is really just little blocks you can track a couple things here. The original intention was to track your movement, and this would be any type of intentional movement that you have throughout the day. So this could be a couple minutes of mobility in the morning. It could be an AM walk. It could be a training session. Could be a walk after lunch, after a meal. So this is just a matter of writing in very simply 10-minute walk, 2 minutes mobility, 30-minute strength session. And just so we can start to make sure that we're building in lots of movement throughout the week, not just actual training sessions. That might only be 2 times a week, but all the other movement that we do matters, I would argue, at least as much, if not even more. So we want to make sure that there is movement built in throughout our week. And this is not about judgment. So I'll say that for everything on here as we're going through this, this is just an observation. And this is where we get data that we can start to decide, maybe make some different choices or figure out, especially like what's getting in the way of making those choices easier. That's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to remove friction. So leave the judgment off to the side if you can, and just be honest with yourself about what's going on so we have something to look at and we can kind of calibrate if we need to where we want to make changes. So the top half is a tracker for intentional movement. I've found that it can also be helpful for people to track their protein, to say, all right, I got 30 grams in for lunch or 50 grams in for breakfast. So depending on what your goals are or what you need the most accountability with, feel free to use those top blocks, let's say AM and PM. Use those how you wish. And there is an example log as well, just kind of showing how I would fill this out. But again, there's a lot of flexibility in this. The bottom half of the table is habits. And these are really the key principles of where we start. So I won't spend a lot of time diving into why each of these is important just yet, but I just want to go through them quickly so you have an idea as to what they mean and how I think about them. And then we can apply them to you based off of what we do in our kickoff call and subsequent calls from here. But the first one is whole foods, and pretty simple, not processed foods. I'm eating whole foods most of the time. So for me, that's if I get 2 out of 3 meals, if I'm not eating a lot of junk, there's a little bit of leeway in there even each day. So for me, I'm happy with like 70%. If 70% of my diet comes from whole foods, I put a plus for that day. That's me checking it off. And the second one is protein first. So this is, again, depending on your actual goals, your body weight, body type, somewhere between 30 to 40 grams, some people are gonna be even more, per meal is really the standard we wanna shoot for. And same thing, this isn't about perfection, but throughout the day, if I have 2 or 3 solid meals where I'm really getting my protein block in, it's gonna be a lot easier for me to get to my total value for the day that I'm shooting for. So here, check plus or minus, whether I'm using protein forward plates. The third one is sit down with no distractions. So this one is really about when we're eating. So maybe you have a book or something there to read, but the phone, the scrolling, anything that really takes our attention away from actually just being present. So this is a practice, and for some people this can be very difficult, especially even if you're just busy. There's something we're trying to do while we're eating. A lot of people eat on the go. this is encouraging us to like just slow down, take a couple breaths, eat while we eat, and just be present with eating. The fourth one is, this is actually, I find really helpful on a lot of levels. It's really great for blood sugar levels and just general health, metabolic health, but walking after each meal. So, this could be as simple as a 5-minute walk. And, the goal here would be that we get about 30 minutes of walking in a day. So one way to think about this is like after each meal, I walk for 10 minutes. Some people that might be great, other people that might not be possible. So there's lots of ways we can think about breaking this up. Trying to get some type of walking in after we eat, even if it's 100 or 200 steps would be great. And we can always make that up later in the day. So if you have a busy work day, you're not able to get that time in after lunch or after breakfast, let's take a longer walk after dinner. But building walking into our routine, it does so many things, not just from the physical health, but I think from the mental side of things. It just gives us space to process. We get into a rhythm, a cadence of walking and moving, and things settle. Things that seem scary, that are difficult, they have a place to just be digested. So walking after each meal, building 30 minutes in, and this is a really great habit too that you can build in with others. So family members, friends, taking a ritual walk after dinner, that can build a lot of other things too that we won't get into here, but walking is important, especially if we can do it with others. And then the last habit is strength and conditioning. So this is where we're going to build in our intentional training sessions throughout the week. Most people are going to have at least 2, maybe 3 of these sessions in, and you will know like what a session is for you, but we want to make sure we're getting these in. This is where we track it at. So again, a plus or a minus. And I really like this system because some days I might start off with a minus, and it's really easy just to add a vertical line to turn it into a plus. So we're just trying to make this as easy as possible for us to get wins here. And again, we're not going for perfection. We're going in the right direction. So 60, 70, 80%, that's going to get us there over time. And these habits, the more that we pay attention to them, the better and easier that they become. And then the last piece of this is underneath that. This is really just a check-in for the week. So we filled out the habit tracker up top. We've got all of our boxes filled out. We kind of know what kind of shape we're in with all that. But how are you feeling this week? And this is, I think, something that you just go with your quick gut answer. Overall, 1, I felt lousy this week. It was awful. 5, I felt great. I felt on top of the world. Just a quick number as to where you're at on that. And then you can also, I added some other columns in here, or some other items in here that you can also adjust too. So again, all this is adjustable, but walking steps. Did you feel like you're getting that in? Do you feel like overall your protein is on track, or it's difficult? How are you feeling with that? And accountability. Do you feel like you're doing great, or do you feel like it could be better? And your recovery. And this is a lot of things. This is your sleep, your stress levels, all the nutrition, all that stuff compounds, but is the body feeling achy? Is it feeling sore? Is it feeling tired? Or are you feeling good? Are you feeling more energetic, more energy, more aliveness? So 1 to 5 in each of those. Again, don't spend a lot of time scrutinizing it. Just go with the quick answer that comes to you. And then I think the 2 last things on here are super important. Your wins for the week. Where did you get some wins this week? Don't negate even very, very small wins, how powerful they can be. So writing these down, sometimes I feel like it was a shit week, nothing went right, but as I start to reflect back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was good, and oh yeah, that was good too. And before you know it, I've kind of rewired my memory of what happened that day or that week, and I'm like, yeah, there actually was some good things here. So try to find the wins, because almost always they're there. We just have to highlight them. And then we can go into, all right, if I can make next week even better, what's 1 or 2 things that what might that look like? And this is just helping us prepare, plan for setting ourselves up for success for the next week. So this is the tracker. I've gone through this in detail. If you have questions about it specifically, or if you need help dialing in what's going to be on here for you, we will work through that. So don't get too caught up in that just yet. I just want to make sure first and foremost, you print this off. You have this somewhere you can fill it out, and that you commit to using it for the duration of our training. It's very, very important, and I think it's one of the most powerful tools in this bucket of change that we have. So that's it for now. We'll see you guys here soon, and let's remember, movement's medicine, so let's keep moving. Thank you.